Welcome back to BrainFLoTv / Hot Topics TV. If you've never been here before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you are notified every time a new video goes up on this channel. Now, this is about YNW Melly, and this is an update. And we all know now that the new trial date that is set for YNW Melly double murder retrial and when does it start is some of the info we're going to get into, along with other things. YNW Melly is a rapper who became even more famous after he was accused and incarcerated, and he has been incarcerated for quite a number of years right now, and he is awaiting his day in court to prove that he did not kill his two best friends. A lot of people are convinced that he did it after watching the first trial that he had, which ended in a mistrial. All the evidence that came out says he did it. He had no alibi. And the one shaky alibi that his attorneys offered at the end of the trial was that he was not in the vehicle. He got out down the street to take a piss and ended up going into a different vehicle, which that was already debunked by Trayvon Glass, who testified that YNW Melly did not get in our vehicle. And I know he didn't, because when we pulled up to the guard shack to enter our house or the dwellings, I opened my eyes, even though I was asleep. And when I opened my eyes, I would have seen him if he was in our vehicle. Now remember, in court, guess what they have? None other than a video still pic from the guard shack with the individual, Trayvon Glass, opening his eyes and looking dead at the camera. So when he said in court that I was asleep when we left the studio, but I wasn't asleep all the way home. When we hit the guard shack and we got to check in to go into the secure gated property that we live in, I opened my eyes then and I woke up and YNW Melly was not in my vehicle. And the video also shows Melly was not in that vehicle. Now, if the video might not have been able to see from an angle where somebody could be slumped over in there sleeping, it sure as hell did show Trayvon Glass, and it backs up his story that although he was asleep, he woke up when he got to the guard shack. Shit don't look good for YNW Melly at all. The double murder trial of rapper YNW Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demons, has had many twists and turns and ups and downs since the South Florida artist was accused of killing his childhood best friends Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juve, respectfully. And this was in 2019. We in 2024, and he is still incarcerated and awaiting a second round of a trial. Now, for almost a year, YNW Melly's retrial has been hanging in the balance, like it's never going to happen. And now, the South Florida rapper knows when he will face a jury in his double murder case. So, in a recent hearing, Brevard Circuit Court Judge Martin Feen has now set YNW Melly's trial date for September 10th of 2025. God damn. Now, for those of you who are wondering why they keep pushing it back, why it keeps being delayed, it's because of the same motions that are being filed by YNW Melly's attorneys behind the scenes. They're trying to get some things thrown out. They're trying to get some things scaled back so their client won't look that bad in court. They're fighting. They're basically trying to win the case. But the prosecution is fighting back. So this is slowing everything up. Now, the case was transferred from Judge John Murphy's courtroom after Judge John Murphy announced that he would retire in August, which is this month. Judge John Murphy said, fuck all this, I'm up out of here. No better time to go than now, because I don't want to be a part of this. And he was caught up in it for a minute, and he was the person that presided over the first trial, which ended in a mistrial. He said, I'm not going through this again. I'm out of here. So Judge John Murphy announced his retirement. Now, Melly, whose real name is Jamel Demons, he's been behind bars in Broward County since February of 2019. So February of 2019 to February of 2020 is 1 year. February of 2020 to 2021 is another year. February 2021 to 2022 is another year. February of 2022 to February 2023 is another year. And February 2023 to February 2024 is another year. So that's 5 years. So YNW Melly has been February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 5 years and 6 months incarcerated and still awaiting a trial that will end in simple, innocent, or guilty verdict. Let's not forget, the death penalty is on the table for him. You know what I mean? The death penalty is on the table for him. He's accused of running down his childhood friends or gunning down his childhood friends and making it look like it was a drive-by shooting after they had left the recording studio in Fort Lauderdale, October 26th of 2018. He turned himself in as a person of interest February of 2019, and he has not been out since. Both Williams and Thomas, YNW Juvie and YNW Sack Chaser, they were aspiring rappers, as we all know. They were part of the YNW collective, and they were doing their thing as rappers, trying to blow up, just like YNW Melly, right? And they were supposed to like take it to the world as a group or individually, solo. He's now 25 years old, and he is facing the death penalty. If convicted, his case will be considered under the 8-4 jury vote, the lowest threshold in the United States of America for death sentence, thanks to Ron DeSantis, Florida's new governor, who said, hey, we don't need to have 12 jurors decide unanimously for us to put somebody on death row. We only need 8. So let's change that law. Let's amend it. And they did. And now, if found guilty, all they need is 8 of the 12 jurors to say death penalty, and your ass is on death row waiting to be sauteed and fried. His retrial now has been pushed back several times, though not without a series of twists and turns and ups and downs. Last July, the jury said that it couldn't reach a unanimous decision on this first-degree murder charge after 3 days of deliberation. The mistrial then set off a whirlwind that ended with a prosecutor being kicked off the case, key evidence being thrown out, and a whole bunch of new charges. Now, while attorneys began selecting jurors in the end of 2023, it's unlikely that a jury will be seated for months. The case has remained at a standstill after prosecutors appealed to a higher court concerning a ruling that Judge Murphy made to throw out some evidence. So, once they appealed to a higher court, Judge Murphy said, I'm retiring. I don't want no more parts of this shit. I'm out of here. A lot of people were saying money talks and bullshit walks. Somebody got to Judge Murphy and told Judge Murphy to throw out the case, throw out not the case, but throw out some key evidence. Now, this evidence, I want you to understand, is evidence that is supposed to be leading up to the day of and the day off after the murder. Judge Murphy said he only wants to admit in court evidence on the day of the murder and the day after, or something like that. But he doesn't want days before or days after. So evidence that's going back like 2-3 days before the murder, 2-3 days after the murders was committed, those evidence would not be admitted in court. He just wants the evidence or the date for the day of the murder, the day before, the day after, and the day off. Which, if you think about it, that could actually sabotage the case. Because if you're looking for a motive as to why this happened, if you're seeking to understand and if you're seeking to prove that this planning led to this, and track it down, then you're gonna need to go back a couple of days, maybe some text conversations, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But Judge Murphy started moving like he was somebody who they got to, and then Judge said, you know what, let me call my retirement right here and step out. So the bulk of the contested evidence was extracted from YNW Melly's phone, his email address, and social media accounts. And under Judge Murphy's ruling, most of the digital evidence admitted, including messages, will be confined to the day of and the day following the murders, not the days before and not many days after, which I think is bogus BS. And this is why the prosecution says, oh no, we're taking this to a higher court, to a higher judge, because we don't understand why you would do this. So the higher court, however, could overturn Murphy's decision, which I think they're going to. Now, in October, Melly co-defendant Cortland Henry, YNW Bortland, who is another member of the collective, the YNW collective, who was also charged with murder, and inmate Terrence Mathis, they were all accused of developing a sophisticated system of code words and fake names to communicate with people outside of the jail. The trio was charged with witness tampering after Mariah Hamilton, who is YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend, had been avoiding testifying. She was avoiding testifying, it seems, because they were getting to her somehow. And then came those charges. Now, the last update we had on YNW Melly was how long he had spent in the Broward County Jail, and that was that. But then he was moved from that particular jail to another jail. And now we're being told that he was moved again. And this time he's moved back to the jail he was at before, the Broward County Jail. And this time he is no longer under all the lockdowns and restrictions that he was under before. It is said that YNW Melly has been locked down for 5 years and change. Most of that time he has spent in solitary confinement. According to law enforcement, he has still been able to move about in that prison system, and he has still been able to get involved in illegal activities inside of that prison system. So they had put him on stricter lockdown, strict monitoring, with a guard on him at almost all times, a guard that he was not even allowed to speak to, which is kind of weird, right? But that's how the prison system goes. So according to XXL Mag, it says YNW Melly has been locked up for 1,910 days and counting. At this point, I'm sure it's more, fighting a double murder that occurred in 2018, but he got incarcerated February of 2019. After his retrial was declared a mistrial last July of 2023, and he is set to be retried for those crimes in September of 2025. However, that too has turned into a waiting game due to the number of factors. Now, we don't have to worry about those number of factors. A specific date has been set for YNW Melly's next trial. And that next trial is September of 2025. It is said that YNW Melly was now recently moved back to the Broward jail, and he is no longer on the restrictions that they had him on before, so he can probably get all his visits now or be more free to move about. I don't know where this is going. I don't see him beating this case because Bookaloo is not somebody to play with, and all this second trial did was give them enough time, the prosecution, enough time to put together a airtight case. They are going in this time to knock the ball out the park. The first time, yeah, they kind of had it, but, the case was long and drawn out. People were falling asleep in the courtroom, including the jury members, because there was so many text messages to go through and so many photographs and whatnot as they were trying to establish that the key phone in this was YNW Melly's phone and not the community phone. And it took days. And even I was watching it and going to sleep during the middle of it. This time, I think they're going to streamline stuff a bit more, and I think they're going straight for the jugular this time. So we will have to wait until September of 2025 to see if YNW Melly becomes guilty, gets put on the death row, or gets sentenced to life, or if he ends up beating this case and walking away. Now, by the time YNW Melly's new trial comes about, he will have been in prison 6 years and say about 7-8 months. 6 years and 8 months. I don't know. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Are you a YNW Melly fan? Do you think that YNW Melly is guilty? And are you looking forward to seeing this case unfold in 2025? I'll catch you on the next video. It's Hot Topics TV / BrainFLoTv. You already know, if the topic is hot, we're on it. I'm out. Peace.